I used to teach little kids. They talked about poop a lot, man.
They do. Welcome to Cloudtown Tuesday, the day where I share a page from my graphic novel, Cloudtown, and tell you about the process of making it. It's like a editor's commentary on a DVD. So here it is. Let's go. Let's do it. This is like the dark bully scene where they're forcing her to tuck her skirt into her underwear and like walk home that way, which is pretty brutal in part because... Well, I had a friend that something similar had happened to, and I was just like, it's both really rude and harmless if you don't, like, people's skirts get stuck in their underwear. Like, if you don't care, it doesn't matter. But if you care, it's awful. And so I like this happy-go-lucky character kind of taking the edge off by not caring, because it just felt too dark for me for this middle grade book. Yeah. To the point where in my first version, I basically didn't show it happening. But then my editor was like, we don't know what's happening. You just got to show it. Yeah. And I was like, okay, it's fine. But, spoiler, for you who haven't read the book yet. At the end, the main character gets to be a bit of a hero. So all the kids in school decide it's the cool fashion to stick your skirt in your underwear. And all the dudes wear kilts and stick their skirts in their underwear. Wow. Like, when I was a kid, it became really fashionable for girls to just wear boxers with the fly sewn up, and like dudes have their pants, small town, very rural, pants like all the way down so you could see their entire boxers. Like, remember like baggy pants?
Oh, I mean baggy pants, right?
Baggy pants, but like they were thigh high. Yeah. Until they get yelled at over and over again. So like
that's terrible.
Underwear is such a funny thing. And it's also like, because this is a kid's book, the kids, one of the things they register with is it looks like the robots are wearing underwear too. And I had this 7-year-old come to my reading and just like giggle, like holding his belly giggling. He couldn't stop. It's like, it looks like the robots are in underwear. And I'm like, the fact that ridiculous thing like brings any human that much joy, that they're just like wiggling. I was like, there's something really satisfying in that.
I used to teach little kids. They talked about poop a lot, man.
They do. So in my dad's book, he had a bunch of different ideas for the pigeon book name, but his editor was like, oh no, it's going to be The Real Poop on Pigeons. And, kids love it.
It's so fascinating.
It's like an early taboo. It's dangerous. My dad, when he comes in to read his pigeon book, he'll have a stuffed pigeon on a straw hat. Then he'll turn around and he'll put a piece of like white toothpaste under the bird, so it looks like it pooped on his hat. And kids just lose it. It's very sweet. Man. Oh yeah. So this shows a little bit more me roughing it out. I don't know how it got out of order like that.
I mean, I still find poop quite amusing.
These kind of little comics, kind of almost animation sequence that I have on some of the pages, that was one of the things that helped sell the book. They really liked that I had incorporated that, and I it's one of those things that I'm sure exists on other comics, but I've just not seen it before. So I was proud of that.
So what's with these people in the margins?
So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Just like, this is something that's happening somewhere else in Cloudtown, and it's a little bit of a transition from what we saw on the last page or what we will see in the next page. So. Yeah, again, I've never seen another comic that has this. I suspect that they do exist. Yeah. And it came from, again, my first version that I sold had a lot of prose chunks. There'd be a page or two of prose, and then we'd go back to comics, like kind of backwards from my Film About Billy book that I toured with you. It was mostly comics with a little bit of prose. Yeah. And in doing so, I was like, well, I should make it kind of like an illuminated manuscript-y kind of thing. Yeah. Like, if you're going to be a graphic novel with prose, why not make the text pop in that kind of way? And so if I had a page that would just be words, I'd still have the character that is skateboarding in the page, skateboarding across the top, like hop over the indentation or whatever, or the tab.
Yeah, that's
something
fun.
Like that.
Reminds me, one of the books I really liked when I was a kid was Legends of Fairyland by Harriet Parr. Oh. And it had just all these beautiful illustrations in the margins. Where I don't know, like just like fairies clinging to the letters and stuff like that.
That's cool.
And of course, like great full page illustrations too, but it felt so magical, just like seeing all these characters like sitting in the corner of the page looking up at what's going on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is me redrawing it so it would be more clear what was happening. And this is me like, maybe I'm going to put 8 panels in here all of a sudden. And then I was like, oh, I got to do it on pencil because I just wasn't figuring it out. Sometimes when I get frozen when I'm working on iPad or one medium or another, I'll just like switch just to another room, another tool. This is a common thing about this particular book. I felt so much pressure to do a good job that I often would draw and redraw things in ways that have very minor differences that no one else would ever notice. Just from I think largely from a place of insecurity. But also meant I was getting better pretty quickly because I was redrawing the same things over and over again. Their smartphones have little like propellers that shoot out so they can be drones and stuff.
Oh man, this is depressing.
Right, and that's why it's fun to make the challenge, make that girl the main character of the next book.
But you're saying she turns good.
She turns she does have a turn. Yeah, she does. I think so. We'll just have to read and find out. It's going to be late.
Yeah.
But yeah, from the very beginning it's really complicated because you have to kind of rethink about how this book ended and how you felt about the way this book ended.
Yeah, that's a cool project. One of my favorite novels is Blubber by Judy Blume, and part of it is that it's just like so dark. Like the character starts off as this sadistic bully, and not even like the lead one, just a follower.
Oh yeah.
And by the end of the novel, she's still that way. It's one of the darkest looks at human nature I've ever seen. But it's interesting, you know, Judy Blume especially, like she was so good at writing humor and writing really likable protagonists, and just going all in on writing from the perspective of a horrible person.
You know, one of the things that we were talking about earlier, how sometimes people are disrespectful of young reader graphic novels or whatever. Like, one of the things is it's just from a technical standpoint, like, it's more challenging to write things that are hopeful and positive and feel like they have a satisfying answer to a difficult question, because finding hopeful, positive, and satisfying, like, it's hard to find a right thing in a very complicated world. There are more wrong things to do than there are right things.
Yeah.
So when I was, when a lot of us are starting out writing, like, dark endings feel more mature, in part because we're not given access to them a lot.
Yeah.
And most of what we see are like the kind of Disney happily ever endings. But having a satisfying happily ever after ending is extremely difficult because you have an audience that knows the world we live in.
Yeah.
And how do you explain to them the reality? Like, I've heard some author podcast talking about one of the really nice things to have a villain do is to explain a worldview that is obviously true to anyone that hears it. And then try to figure out, like, a real satisfying argument that explains that it's not, Like, how can you have a character show in their actions that the world is better or more generous than that villain, who's very reasonable and understandable, does not express, which is hard. Which is why I want to do more of it, just as a personal challenge to think of how things can be better.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing. I write urban fantasy, so there's always like the idea, we live in a up world, and how do you write around that, like where things feel so dark and it's so easy to just fall into a dichotomy of hope versus despair.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, what always drew me to fantasy was the utopian aspect. That it's I don't know how you feel, I guess you're a science fiction writer. The idea that it's a genre that's specifically about the good in humankind. Like, it's born out of utopian narratives. That's what the original fantasy narratives were. Well, not the original, I mean mythology, right?
Sure,
if we're looking, like, within the age of the novel, we're looking at utopian narratives. And just that idea of embracing that and running with it and being like, no matter how bad things are, we can still be our best selves.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's hard to do because I feel like the audience wants that.
Yeah.
Like they come to it seeking some type of validation for our better selves. You're not gonna find it just walking around in this world, you know. You're told to be in this world.
Well, that's why when you do see it, it's so impactful, right?
Yeah, stories about love and heroism. You know, that's what it is.
Well, let's wrap up because it seems like my phone's tired of doing this, so thank you for recording with me.
Oh, yeah, anytime.
Yeah, right on. Dun, 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 dun.